Hello, everybody. This is Christine Phillips, and we are still talking about how to dream smarter, setting goals and living intentionally so you can achieve your dreams. And today we're going to talk about the evaluate and assess stage of this framework. So we're going to take these two together because these two together will turn the idea or the dream that you identified in the reflect stage into a SMART goal. Now, if you're not familiar with SMART goals, SMART is an acronym, and it is one that is used very frequently in goal setting circles. Let me show you what that stands for. So SMART stands for being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So you want your goal to have all these characteristics in order to be able to really make it something that you can really achieve. So these two steps, the way they fit in for evaluate, what you're doing is you're doing the research in order to make it specific, make it measurable, and make it relevant. So what that means to make it specific means to narrow the focus to something that is well, just more narrow in focus. As you remember, what we decided was very, very broad, does not give any guidelines as to what you should do in order to achieve the goals. Measurable, which means giving it some sort of a number or a date that helps you measure that you've actually successfully achieved the goal. And relevant means to look at it and say, and determine if this is something that relates to your values and who you are as a person and your interests. So that's the evaluate stage. And then the assess is really determining if it's achievable and time-bound, which are very similar. So time-bound is actually setting specific dates. Now, you may not be doing that to a large degree during the assess stage, but the achievable is making sure that it is achievable, that this goal is achievable within the time frame that you want to have it done. So it may be just assessing your schedule, your season, and determining, does this fit in? Will this fit? So the best way to go through this, I think, is to go through our examples or our example dreams that we identified. So the first one we identified is work on our health. And as I mentioned, this is very, very broad. It could mean anything. It could mean wanting to lose weight. It could mean wanting to eat healthier. It could be wanting to exercise more. It could be all the above. It could be multiple items. I recommend picking one. And the idea is answering the question, what does my body need most? So this is one that's actually my own personal goal for 2021. That kind of started earlier this year. I was realizing that with the pandemic and now working from home, I'm moving less. My job is a desk job. I sit behind a computer all day. And although I was working out in the mornings before I sat down at the computer, I was still finding by the end of the day that I was very, very stiff and very, very achy. And I wanted to figure out how to alleviate that. So I realized really what my body needed was movement, being able to move. So I tried walking and I actually went for walks outside a few days a week to see if that helped. And it actually helped tremendously to be able to walk. So that's what I decided that my goal was to walk more. So that makes it more specific. But I realized I needed something measurable to help measure how I'm achieving this goal. So I decided to set a step count of 7,000 steps per day to try to achieve. So my evaluation period turned on my health to walk at least 7,000 steps per day. So this is specific, it's measurable, and it's relevant because I've tried it and I know I like it. So, and it was basically achieving the ultimate goal, which was to be less achy and to feel better. So it is definitely relevant to me. So what about work on my career? Again, very, very general. Now I'm going to assume that if this was something that came up in your reflect time, that you want to take it to the next level within your existing career. And the reason I'll make that assumption is if you're in a stage where you realize you need to determine a career for your life, or if you need to change careers, that the one you're in is simply not working, that's probably a whole nother class in itself, beyond just setting a single goal if you need help determining that. Maybe something we'll do in the future, a separate class for that. So let's assume you want to take it to the next level. So what research would you need to do in order to determine what that goal should be? Well, maybe talk to some of the other people within your organization that are in that role and ask what is needed in order to get into a role like that. It may be simply just being able to shadow somebody at work and making time to do that. It may mean that you have to pursue a certificate or a degree in order to qualify for those particular roles. So another way that you could do the research is if you look online, like on the LinkedIn job search or in Indeed, or even ZipRecruiter is a good website. Just do a search in those for that particular job role that you're looking for, that you want to get into. And look at the job description and look at several so you can get an idea of what is required in order to get into that role. So let's say through the research, what you found is you really need to pursue your MBA. That's actually quite common if you're looking to get into a management role within an organization. So that gets us more specific, pursue an MBA. So how do we make it measurable? Well, for this one, it's probably a good idea just to set a date on when you want to start taking classes. There's a lot of steps in between, basically where we are now, let's presume, if you haven't started doing anything yet, and actually starting classes. So let's say you want to start classes by September of 2021. So that makes it specific and that makes it measurable. We're pursuing an MBA and starting classes by September of 2021. Now, what about relevant? Well, for the relevant, I would recommend, and you may have already done this, but if you look online to a couple of universities and look at the MBA program and the classes you'll be taking. Are you interested in taking those classes? You may even think back to your bachelor's degree and think, did I like those classes? Am I doing something in my current job related to those classes? Just to know that this is something that you're really going to enjoy and down the path of your passions and your interests. So that'll help determine if it's relevant to you. If you look at those classes and say, these really don't interest me at all, you may want to reconsider what the next step is in your career. So there we go. We've evaluated work on my health and determined that our goal is walk at least 7,000 steps per day and work on my career. And that is to pursue my MBA and start classes by September 2021. So now what about assess? So we have these goals that we've set, but we want to make sure that it is achievable and also time bound. So that is looking at your calendar and also just kind of considering what season of life you're in. Do you have young children? Are you an empty nester? Do you have, are you taking care of an elderly parent? What are your other priorities in your life? And this is really trying to determine how it fits into your existing schedule. At this stage, you're just going to kind of make some notes as to how much time you can dedicate per week on these particular goals. So that way you can figure out how to fit it in during the map it out stage. So for walking 7,000 steps per day, where does this fit in my current schedule? Can someone help with some responsibilities to make room? And is there anything I need to do to stop doing this for a season to fit this in? Well, number two, there's really nothing that, no responsibilities that are really prohibiting me from doing this. Well, I shouldn't say that. there's nobody that can really help me with areas of my life to be able to fit this in. But where it does fit into my schedule, I know I can dedicate about 30 minutes a day to walking, and that probably going to need to eliminate my exercise routine for 3 days a week, on 3 days a week, and substitute walking in order to fit this into my schedule. So that's kind of how I assessed my walking goal. Now with the Pursue Your MBA goal, right now you're going to be most likely kind of researching schools and applying to schools during this first stage of this big dream that you have. So you need to find how you can carve out some time and focus on that particular item. So that may be, if you have young kids, that may be that, to answer question number 2, that you're sending the kids off to grandma or with your husband, maybe on a Saturday morning or a certain day of the week. So it frees up some of your time that you can dedicate to this particular goal. And that will help, that may determine where in your schedule that fits in. And then also, again, considering, is there anything you need to stop doing for a season to fit this in? Maybe you need to actually put some activities that you're doing that are fun activities just on hold for a season, just so that way you can focus on your career and getting your MBA. So these are assesses really just kind of asking the really important questions and making sure that you know that you have time in your schedule to fit it in. Okay, so what's next? What's next is for you to sit down and take your big dream and actually turn it into a SMART goal. So that is your homework. Use a good place to do this is a blank page in your notebook or your planner. Some planners even have a vision page at the front that maybe you want to use for brainstorming and sketching it out, because this is really truly a brainstorming session. And whatever specific goal you have, write it down. So now that you have a goal documented and written down, what's next is to actually map it out. So I hope you've been doing some research on what system you want to use as far as a calendar, a to-do list, and a notebook. Make sure you have those on hand, because we're going to use them in the next stage. And in order to prepare to map it out, when you get your calendar, make sure you put in your known commitments, any doctor's appointments that are coming up. If you know every other Wednesday you have a Bible study, put that in your calendar. That helps tremendously with the mapping it out process and making sure you know where to make room for these goals and to achieve them. I'm looking forward to the next step with you and being able to map out these goals, so that way you are equipped to achieve them. Thank you and have a good day.